What's happening, guys? It's Ainsley, and we're gonna go through this trim because this is probably like the most requested one out of my Instagram. I swear down, like every single time I do his haircut, someone asks me to go through like a full-on tutorial. So what we're gonna do is we'll just break it down into what the sort of thought process before we even start, how we sort of consult, how we're really assessing certain areas, and how short to go, basically. So just really basic stuff as well. I think if this is like your first ever time doing afro hair, I think this is a really good one basically to understand actually what afro hair is like as a texture over, say, Caucasian hair or East Asian hair. So to start off with, he's been a diamond because he always comes in and he always fucking picks out his hair before he even comes in. Obviously sometimes people aren't going to do that, so I'm just going to actually talk you guys through how I sort of pick out someone's hair. And usually where I'd start, even with the haircut as well, I'll always start in the nape of the neck, because that's usually where most of the knottage comes from. Like, I mean, you'll have it like when you sleep, like it's usually this area, or it's the sides like that'll compress in. I always get like funny photos like from either you or Carrot, fucking, and literally like they would have fallen asleep and like one side of their head's like all squashed down. So like sometimes obviously that is where most of the hair's like mattifying, it's knotting up, it's tending to sort of sit a little bit knotty. So realistically, if we want to make sure, especially when you're doing something really spheric and symmetrical, we want to make sure that all the hair is actually combed out properly, because otherwise if he eventually picks this out later on, or there'll be certain areas that'll just be a little bit out of kilter with the rest, and it'll almost look like certain areas haven't been cut. So what I like to do is just work around the perimeter of the haircut to start off with, just assessing length and how the hair curls. With your hair, there tends to be certain areas that are slightly softer, so we need to just have a little look through them. So what I'll do is I'll start out at the back, just sort of combing it down to start off with, and we can just feel the hair sort of pulling a little bit. Obviously you want to be relatively gentle with this, you don't want to just be like going absolutely ham in. If somebody's got like a little knot, then maybe just take that section and just give it a little bit of a pick on its own, just so you're not retching at the head basically. And we can already see the amount of length compared to, even after he's picked this out, like we can see the fact that there's more length essentially here, and we can see those slightly lighter ends that are obviously going to be coming off. Now if I pull underneath here, and if you just come a little bit closer in with the camera, we can see that this hair starts to straighten through here. So when we actually pick this down, can we see how there isn't as much coil through this area as possible? And it's not necessarily a problem because he's going to go quite short with it, but it's just something to sort of assess as you're working through the hair, because like any other hair texture, there are certain areas, whether it be growth patterns or whether it be just difference in density. We know the fact that we leave slightly more hair, say through the recession area if someone was receding. So like it is that exact same process and thinking in the same sort of ways, but just a slightly different hair texture. So again, we're gonna do it through here. Still working on that perimeter just to start off with, working our way up to the center, and then we're gonna work through the front. So I'm just gonna pull this down to start off with. Again, almost creating like a bit of a halo section, if that makes sense. So like just working this area last, and then as you can kind of see in the mirror, and as well if I just face him towards you, we can kind of get this like sort of shape. So we can now start to see the perimeter. Now what I'm going to do is just press on the hair like this, and then just work outwards basically, all the way around. Again, working through those areas at the front. We can sort of see that that's now starting to come out. And then when we get to the crown, this is where I'm actually going to just change and just start brushing up. So again, we're sort of combing the hair into the position that's going to be sat, because that's going to give us the most accurate representation of where the hair needs cutting to. And then again, if we can just see the fact that some areas are a little bit sort of out of shape, then we could just sort of start picking those out. Now, what I would say, because he's already picked out his hair and his hair isn't too dense, you don't really need to pick this out more than once. His hair will just be how it is when it's all picked out. There's not too many knots in it. We can kind of see where we're going to go with it. It's not too dense. It's just sitting pretty realistically. Like, now if someone's hair was slightly more coiled and this was a slightly shorter afro, then maybe you need to cut, then pick out again. Like, it's always how I was taught, is to maybe even do it twice. But because I've been doing his hair for quite a bit of time, I know where I need to sort of be having a look at and how much it needs picking out. So, with an afro, it is a hella simple kit list today. So literally we'll just go over what we're gonna need. So obviously, important part to start off with before we even cut is the pick. So again, you can pick these up really, really cheaply from any fucking like Hair City or anything like that. And they're kind of a must if you're going through with afro hair as well. Main thing that we're going to need is the clipper. We need something relatively powerful. Like I said, if this was slightly denser afro hair, you would need something with a slightly faster motor. JRL does work quite nice. I would have my Babyliss, but sadly I have run out of battery because I've been working today. And then we need a scissor as well. So if we think of these two tools as almost like a finer grain of sandpaper. So this is really to get the bulk off and to really get the shape and reiterate where we need. It's taking off the bulk of everything, so it's a shape that we can sort of polish. Then basically we're going to go to the scissor. That's going to really refine any curves or anything like that and give it a slightly softer look. Then we'll probably, with the little castaways, there's a little trick that we're going to go through with the foil shaver, and then that's just to get rid of any little sort of castaways or anything like that. And then we're just going to use some hairspray as well, just to compress that shape then back down. And then yeah, we should be good to go. And then our man over here is off to carnival. Lucky bastards. Right man, so let's get started. So, like I said, even when I'm picking things out, if you just sit with your bum to the back of the seat, making sure that the neck muscles and everything are nice and straight through the back. And if you just tilt your head forward a little bit, we can kind of see this area. I always find that this is the easiest place for me to imagine a sphere essentially. So like we're gonna start from the back here, really refine our shape for essentially this bottom semicircle. And what that's going to do is actually give us our shape of where that spheric is going to go round and where it's going to be even. Yeah, so like making sure that both sides are balanced and they're curving upright. Then we're going to move into this top area, and then we're going to look at it from the back. We're going to make sure that's symmetrical and basically curving in evenly, and then we're going to do exactly the same from basically this top panel to the back. And then we're going to leave those areas that are a little bit harder with the straighter hair around the front temple area and around the fringe. We're going to leave that towards the end, just so we can see where everything else is working. Again, a little bit of muscle memory from doing someone's hair over and over again. You are going to know where to start and what to watch out for. So make sure you do those assessments. Like, it doesn't make any form of difference whether you're doing Caucasian hair or Afro hair. You have to assess the hair and consult with the client on the length, how much everything's coming off, and those problem areas before you start, because then that's going to adjust how you would do something. And let's be honest, everyone's hair is different. It's not exactly the same. So we are going to have to make little adjustments for different parts of the head. But as we go through bits, we'll maybe talk about certain things that I would do differently if it was a slightly different hair type. But just for the moment, we're going to just work on this back area. So towards the back, we can see where I'm sort of going in. I'm just sort of dictating where I want that perimeter length at the moment. So if I just turn that in just so we get a bit of light there, we can kind of see that that's where I'm determining basically the baseline at the bottom. I'm going to keep it relatively flat to start off with, and I'm almost using the curvature of his neck just to define a line to start off with. So I'm not worrying about curving it in just yet. And we're just going through. We can see the photo, we're just taking about an inch or so off of there. So again, just gently rounding around the head. And we can already see that distinct sort of shape, just gently curving up to start off with. And again, just working into there. Again, just checking from side to side, just to double check what we're doing and making sure things are symmetrical. Right, beautiful stuff. So we can see now a nice little perimeter that we're sort of working in. We can see that slightly straighter area actually starting to come into play now as well. So we're just going to work in on that just so everything's nice and balanced and we can see where we're going. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work in this direction to start off with. And we're going to just move out. And it is really important to be kind of nice and fluid with this. Like when I very first did my first afro, it took me hours because I just wasn't being confident with my strokes. Like we know the fact that we're taking quite a bit of length off, and this is where we're taking the bulk out. So we need to just be a little bit more confident with our brush strokes of the clipper. So again, we're starting to create that little bit of a bevel now, and that's why I think it's easier working from the side. Because if you think about it, if we moved up, we're going to be moving against the grain a little bit, and what I want to do is set up for a downward movement of the clipper rather than something going up. So just so that makes sense, so we're going to be working down into that spheric sort of shape. Working with this kind of style of cutting hair is just very visual, so it will take a little bit of time, especially for those of you who haven't really done much work visually. You've kind of just got to see the shape to start off with and try not to think too much. Like just sort of over calculating things. I think sometimes like if you just look and stare at one little part of the head, you are going to focus in on this being like, you know, really nice and curved, and then when you look at it and take a step back, then all of a sudden you realize the fact that one side is like actually like way more curved or kind of flattens out too much, and that's what we really don't want to do. So now we're going to work up to start off with, and then we're going to use those downward brush strokes basically to sort of blend these two areas together. As well, if there are any sort of haircuts that you guys want me to do a full sort of like tutorial like this, then feel free to ask away in the comment section, because to be honest with you, like if there's certain things that you guys want to see, then I'm more than happy to sort of bring someone in that you may have seen off of the Instagram, or if there's a certain haircut that you're seeing online, then we can bring somebody in. And to be fair, if there's any questions as well, feel free, because I'll be having a look through the comment sections to see if there's any questions as well. But yeah, I thought we'd start off with a fun one at least. So again, we can start seeing that shape now sort of coming into light. So now I'm looking over the top of the head and I'm just creating curve now. And I'm not rounding down because again I'm focusing on each area of the head independently, refining that through, and then we can go through right at the end and just change any little areas that we need to. I think it's really important as well, wherever you're like sort of cutting this afro, is to be able to see something lighter than the hair basically behind it, because then you're going to be able to see the curve. So essentially seeing that light against dark, that just makes it so much easier to visualize. So again, now just working through, coming through the front now. Just make sure you can see that as well. So again, we're still working on that shape. Just leaving this area, and we can kind of now see that. I'm not sure whether it'll come up on camera, I'm hoping it will. Can we see how that density is there? and then all of a sudden the coil turns into more of a curl through here. So this is really why I like to leave that towards the end, because it's just an area that we can sort of really sort of fine tune towards the end and have a little bit more control over.
It's all dead as well.
It's not dead, it's just a change in density, man. Like literally it's just changes through that area. Now just starting to work through the front, curve this around. Start seeing that shape. Starting to round in. So again, we're going to come around this side. Start seeing the colour. We're just like creating a bevel in those little areas. And we're just leaving that fringe area until the end as well, just so we can start using a scissor around that area. So obviously like when you're using a clipper around someone's face, it's just probably a little bit more control over the tool. And again, just picking it out like that, just helps sort of keep your clipper away from his eyebrows and delicate areas like his eyes. So the last thing in the world that I want to do is shave an eyebrow off. I don't think that's you anymore. To be fair, that used to be you though.
I've always had my hair off once.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, that's actually a really good point now we mentioned that. When I very first did his hair, I think it was actually the second time that I ever did your hair, fucking years ago now, like, underneath here, please remember where someone's ear is. Because obviously when you're rounding this off and you're using a scissor, like there was one time where I was so close from fucking chopping his ear off, it was not the one. So it's just making sure that you're understanding where everything is underneath the hair that you're cutting. That's it. It was a close encounter, so can't sue me. Yeah, Richard sues man, like some boy you are. Right, so we're gonna come around the face. So I'll tell you what, we'll spin that around. Just let us know, Liam, if you can't see anything, and then we'll sort of come through. Yeah, just down for the moment, bro. So we're just gonna lift on up, and I'm gonna come straight across. And again, just doing things with a little bit of confidence is important. We know the fact that around the face, we want to create almost like a square shape around his eyebrow and his forehead, and then something slightly softer through the sides. And the main reason for that is we want to keep things a little bit more masculine. I don't want him to look like a big fat microphone. Like, it's just not gonna look too great. And also, he's not going for like some 70s vibe, do you know what I mean? Even though I always kind of like consider an Afro 70s, because that's kind of just where I've seen it in fashion, if that makes sense. But literally one of those. To be fair, someone put in the comment box, man, like, what's your favourite Afro, like signature Afro? Like, literally, there's so many good ones. Like, for those of you who have researched into that sort of thing, Hendrix is definitely up there. Like, yeah, to be fair, sick music and a sick Afro. What's more there to love?
Literally.
Sweet, so we can kind of now start to see, just blow a little bit out there, that we've pretty much got that into the shape. And you can see the fact that I'm like almost going underneath to bevel this in. So everything needs to be nice and soft at that perimeter. If I was just to leave like almost like a curve and then a flat in, it's just going to grow out a bit of a dog's dinner, and it's going to be a little bit softer just doing it this way. Like, And then just whilst I'm on the fringe, I'm gonna then just work basically from recession to the crown area, just with the scissor over comb. We're just gonna start polishing that now in, because it kind of dictates what I do with the sides, just the fringe. So I like to always start with that. Again, just being a little bit more calculated with it. So just dust this down, get rid of some.
Thank you.
Man's itching. Right. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come through these side areas, right? And basically what I'm gonna do is just get him to tilt his head, and we can see these softer hairs kind of coming through. And this again, be careful where someone's ear is, because it is quite easy just to be going da 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 da, and then next thing you know, you actually accidentally keep someone's ear basically in the section, and you'll take it off. And this as well, where we've created that slightly harsher baseline towards the very bottom, this is what we want to now start blending it into. So my posture's probably really shit right now, but I want you guys to be able to see it. So now we'll get him to relax, and now we're just going to come through and just polish these little areas. Just keep your chin up first, G. So you can kind of see the fact that we've got that nice pebble-like shape kind of coming through there, and literally now we're just going to polish this area. The reason why I'm polishing as well now before moving on to the other side is just because I want to see the finished result so I can balance it perfectly on the other side. So again, like when I'm coming through here now, so I really want to see this. Again, using the mirror as well. The mirror is really important for achieving balance through this haircut as well. What I want to see on this side, I want to be seeing exactly the same on this side. Almost just creating a little bit of squareness through these rounds. So I'm almost creating something a little flatter through here, and then a little flatter through here, and then a little flatter through here. And even though we're keeping something extremely round, we're almost creating some masculinity within that sort of shape, rather than it just being a very soft, round shape. Right. So if you just tilt your head, so again, just looking for that shape, we're going to come under, keeping an eye out where that ear is, following the contours. Need to come through with a big clipper again, so obviously we can do. Again, just coming over to the other side, just pop your head down, and we can just double check by seeing where those two sort of curves start and where they finish, and making sure from side to side the fact that they're actually blending it in. Alright, and then just tilt on over. It's the only problem with filming in my shop. Great big glass door, like. Right.
If not, I'm in.
Celebrity DJ. That's the one. If anybody wants to follow our man Richard over at RK Switch.
Yeah, that's the one.
Brings the noise to the boys. That's possibly the cringiest thing I've
Yeah,
ever said
no,
online. Yeah, I think there's always a risk. Obviously, like these are going to be the first couple, so you might see the fact that the production value goes up and up and up, and I might start saying slightly less cringy and cringier shit as I get rinsed in the comment section. Exactly. I hope everyone likes these sort of videos, because I just thought that as well, like with these videos, I just wanted them to be a little bit less rigid as well. Like, I will start doing some live stuff as well, if that's what people want. Like, I am so open to suggestion, as this is like the start of the sort of YouTube career, if you will. If there's any ideas that you guys want to see, like if you want my opinion on stuff, like we're going to be doing podcasts on basically looking at collections that have just come out, speaking to some industry professionals, because obviously like I do a lot of stuff with the fashion world as well. Like if there's anything that you guys feel like you've just not been able to see, because sometimes with certain sides of the industry they tend to be quite closed off, and the only way that you'd ever really see them is to be in them. And what I really want to do is just show and inspire people that there's a big vast world out there that can, you know, you can be interested in and you can be stimulated by it and inspired. Because to be fair, that's like how I ended up doing what I was doing. Like, I'd be interested for education for a small while, and then I'd be interested in fashion stuff and doing my own shoots and all that sort of jazz. So even if you guys want to know how I even got into that, like, it's all interesting conversation, and feel free to ask me, whether it be through Instagram or whether it be through YouTube. I am more than happy to sort of talk you guys through it. Right, so we're pretty much done with this. We're just going to do a couple of little finer tweaks. So we're just getting some hairspray now, just patting it down, and then we're going to go over with a foil razor in these little areas I feel like just need a bit of a zhuzh, and then should be all sorted. And then Richard can continue to drink Magnums. Now the Magnum and Sprite just give him a bit of courage, basically.
Yeah, something like that.
Big time.
It's nerve-wracking seeing it.
How many times have you bottled for me now?
Yeah.
Like, you should be fucking like sound with it now.
Right,
Hey, I'm just giving the people what they want to see, bro. Right guys, so we'll just go through the haircut now. Sadly the camera did actually overheat then, so it's really annoying. But all we did basically was a final step, just a light coating of hairspray. And all that basically does is just basically get rid of any little bits. If we just pat it down with a sponge, then all that's then going to do is just pick all the hairs up off of the top of the head that we've kind of left on top of the hair from that scissor over comb, and then just use the foil shaver just to basically get rid of any little areas. And it is just polishing and polishing and polishing. If I really wanted to refine the shape into something that was editorial or something that was going to get photographed, I might want to compress the hair slightly more. But to be honest with you, for that everyday kind of style, someone isn't going to want basically to look like a ball. So it's kind of a little bit more of a natural look, something that's a little bit more salon friendly as well. Because as you saw, that genuinely didn't take any extra time than what you guys have seen on the camera. I'm trying to actually show you guys real haircuts rather than just something that's going to take hours and basically not be achievable in the salon. So again, you guys requested anything that you want to request in the future, you guys just let me know. I've been Ainsley. Drop us a subscribe, it will mean an absolute world to me as I try and grow this channel. So literally just drop a little follow, it costs you nothing, and that's enough of that. Take it easy guys, and I hope you enjoy.